Welcome to Outkick Live. I'm Ryan Glasspiegel. We're joined by the professional wrestler MJF. MJF is in AEW. You can catch him Wednesday nights, AEW Dynamite on TNT, 8 p.m. Eastern. So I want to start with this, MJF. You often tell the audience, I'm better than you, and you know it. How do you know that I know that you're better than me?
Well, first of all, Ryan, that introduction was abysmal and atrocious. So now what I'm going to do is do it for you.
Okay, go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're not aware, I am the youngest and fastest rising star in the history of professional wrestling. I am also the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned AEW World Champion of All Elite Wrestling. I am also a ratings titan. I am also 24. I am also a prodigy. So, Ryan, I'm sorry, what was your question?
How do you know that I know that you're better than me?
Because you are already trembling with fear, Ryan. That is my answer. Next question.
Trembling with fear. I don't know about that.
I hear it in your
nervous,
voice,
but
Ryan.
trembling. I think you're exaggerating there.
I don't know. It sounds like you're talking like this a little bit, but come on now. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You recently wrestled Jon Moxley at All Out. He had agreed to a stipulation that he would not use the paradigm shift, and if he did, that he would lose. Now, he did use the paradigm shift, and I want to know, is this the biggest or second biggest injustice in the history of the world?
It's the biggest. It's the biggest miscarriage of injustice in the history of not only professional wrestling, but the world. The man had one job, Ryan. One job. Have a whole match front to back without hitting one maneuver. Did he hit the maneuver, Ryan?
I think I saw him do that, yes.
Bingo. It is ridiculous that Dictator John continues to get away with whatever he wants to get away with simply because he's Dictator John. It's ridiculous. And realistically, Ryan, if this had occurred, in my humble opinion, with a different athlete who wasn't favored by everybody, who everybody didn't love, because everybody, let's face it, people love to smell that dude's farts for some reason. It's sickening. But if it was anybody else, I can assure you that belt would be around my waist right now. But I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm over it. I've moved on to the next big thing.
Well, I do want to talk about it a little more because I watch a lot of football and a lot of basketball, and they correct injustices by instant replay. Have you ever gone to Tony Khan and been like, hey, you work in the NFL, when your referees mess something up, it can get reviewed. Is that something that you would like to have, maybe a challenge system?
I can say this. I had my lawyer, Mark Sterling, talk to Tony Khan, and he even said, can we implement this system from here on out? Now, I believe it's being run up the flagpole. I still haven't got an answer on it. But I would appreciate if we had some instant replays or challenge flags. It's something that's most certainly being worked on to this day.
I mean, that being said, if you did that, I feel like it could get used against you at some point.
I don't understand what you're talking about, Ryan.
Well,
what are you trying to say?
Let's say, for example, like Wardlow helped you win a match. You don't think that
What are you insinuating? What are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating that you've made it clear you're not part of a stable. You think you might need to be part of a stable to get ahead in AEW, but Wardlow is your work associate, and I think that he has helped you on a couple of occasions, and there are times maybe
Ryan,
that's not within the letter of the
I like
rule
you.
book.
You seem like a nice guy, but right now you got hot ice skates on, and you are parading on very thin ice, and it is melting at a very fast rate.
I want to know what type of thin ice we're talking about. Is it an ice skating rink, which case, like, who really cares? Or is it a pond where if I melt through the ice, I'm in big trouble?
We're talking about a pond in the middle of nowhere in Alaska.
Well, I think that Alaska's cold enough that I'm not going to fall through.
I don't know, Ryan. In the summertime, we just got out of summer. We literally
did just get out of summer, but we're not in summer now. Last week, summer's over.
I don't know. Temperature-wise, though, man, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. You're going to take a swim in that scenario.
I don't want to take a swim.
There you go.
Anyways, let's move on to this. I want to know what your current relationship is with Chris Jericho.
Ryan, that was the first good question you've asked me so far. Chris Jericho is quite possibly the only person in professional wrestling who I respect. He's a man who's been in this industry for almost 30 years. We're coming up on it. We're actually going to have a big celebration for him. Hell of a guy. He deserves it. And he's somebody that's transcended professional wrestling, as have I. I have been in so many people's homes for so many different reasons, specifically because I'm such a big star in the world of pro wrestling. To give you a statistic, though, and why I respect Chris so much, is the two biggest minute-for-minute money draws in ratings on AEW are two guys. Chris Jericho, a man who's been in this industry for 30 years, and MJF, a man who's only been in this industry for a year. Realistically, in my humble opinion, if I want to stay where I'm at for 30 years, just like Christopher did, of course I'm going to want to pick this dude's brain a little bit. And I believe we're becoming fast friends. I like him. He seems like an all right guy.
The way I saw it, though, and you can feel free to correct me, I thought
Please.
I saw you call him a loser and him call you a loser. Do I have that misconstrued?
Ryan, once again, we might be taking a swim in this scenario. You're
no.
really starting to offend me. Listen, me and Chris, we already talked this out. Did you watch Dynamite? We talked this out. We got face-to-face, and we both asked each other, why'd you call me a loser? Which was profound for me because I genuinely thought Christopher called me a loser, which was not the case, and he thought I called him one, which is blasphemous. I was simply referring to the two limo drivers that were driving at a ridiculous speed. Could you imagine if there was a head-on collision and both me and Chris Jericho got injured? That's the whole show, bub. That's the whole kid and caboodle.
That would definitely have a negative impact on the ratings.
My God, why even watch? That's one. And then two, Chris was saying he wasn't calling me a loser. And looking back on it, how could he? I mean, look at me. He was talking about Tony Schiavone. Fat, old, ugly, uncharismatic Tony Schiavone. So it's all wiped. It's a clean slate now. And I wish Christopher nothing but the best.
So does that mean that you trust him?
He seems like a nice guy. He seems like a salt of the earth guy just like me.
I wanted to get into a little bit of your history. You mentioned in a promo a couple weeks ago that you've watched a lot of like old professional wrestlers from well before you were born or at least kind of conscious, like Buddy Rogers and so on. How do you go about your archival studies of the business?
I'm a student of the game. I have been for almost the entirety of my life. Before there was WWE Network, there was WWE 24/7, which I had, and I scurried through the annals of history on there. And before that, I was on YouTube, and I continue to go on YouTube and watch incredible wrestlers from the past. It's helped me out a lot, and I think that's the difference between me and everyone else. The reason why people get emotionally invested in me is because I am capable of doing that to you. I understand what it takes to manipulate you into feeling the way I want you to feel. And again, I've said this once and I'll say it again. The word manipulate has a negative connotation when it shouldn't. I can manipulate you into having a great day. And what would be wrong with that? That's the thing. I'm the pro wrestling puppeteer. And I'm proud to be the pro wrestling puppeteer because when you look at other guys from my generation, all they're concerned with is being out of shape and eating McDonald's like you, nice shirt, doing as many flips as they possibly can in their match, and only caring about how many moves they get to hit in their match because all they care about is making the crowd think that they're good at their job. When in reality, you can hit as many moves as you want. Did you pin your opponent? Did you go to the pay window? Did you leave with a money in an envelope stacked to the brim and shove it in your pocket? No, you didn't because you were too concerned with making people think you're good at your job. The only way you can prove you're good at your job is to win. And that's why I'm undefeated and everybody else isn't.
Well, you're not technically undefeated because you lost to Moxley.
Swiped. Barry Bonds technically didn't hit all of those home runs. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, so you mentioned that you've been in the business for a year, but before that, I saw you a few times at the Logan Square Auditorium.
Of course.
And so you had you mentioned you want to do all of these like old school types of matches and not like flip stuff, but you had kind of like a hardcore match that I saw with Sami Callihan where there was like a lot of blood and a lot of weapons.
There was because I didn't like Sami Callihan. At some point, realistically, there comes a time where professional wrestling and professionalism needs to get thrown out the window because I don't like somebody. And at the time, me and Sami were at odds. And now, it is what it is. I haven't seen Sammy in quite some time. I hope he's doing well. But at the time, I hated that man's guts, and he hated mine. And at the time, it seemed like the only way to settle things.
So my main question is, how long does that hurt for after a match like that?
The thing that I wish professional wrestling fans understood is, even if it's not a hardcore match, we're in pain every day. And I'm being very serious. I'm going to explain what a professional wrestling ring is made out of. A pro wrestling ring is made first with metal beams. They're crossbar beams. Then after that, we put over it hard planks of wood. And then after that, we put over it a thin sheet of mat. And then an apron. And that's a pro wrestling ring. And that's why I'm not going to try to do these ridiculous stunts like drop my opponent on their head. I'm not trying to get dropped on the head. I want to keep the match clean inside the middle of the ring because I want to do this for a long time. I'll give you, for instance, there's a reason why certain guys, and I'm not going to name names, I'm sure you can figure it out, consistently get injured over and over again. It's because they're doing this all wrong. Conserve your body so you can make more money. It's that simple. But even as I'm doing my wrestling style my way, I still get hurt. So I can't even imagine what happens to the nutcases that are doing that car crash style. It's disturbing to think about. And the more disturbing thing is the fans are cheering on this car crash style without any idea that these guys are mutilating themselves.
And so, I mean, we talked about how you did the indie circuit before AEW. And at the time you started, I don't think like AEW was even a formal idea. So I guess this isn't really a question, but you've got to be like somewhat feel blessed that this promotion came along and that you can perform in like title matches at your age, because I don't think anybody since like The Rock has gotten any type of like mid-20s exposure opportunities like you've had in AEW of late.
Yeah, early 20s. But to answer your question, you're absolutely right. I don't feel blessed, though. It feels earned. It feels deserved, because I am one of the only people in pro wrestling now that can elicit the reactions I elicit because I'm a star. However, it meant a lot when AEW came along, and that's why me and TK to this day, Tony Khan, if you don't understand that went over your head, are BFFs. Because I was in a situation at MLW where everybody knew I was going to be the next big thing. Everybody and their mother knew, right? Even if you didn't understand the realm of pro wrestling, if you saw me at a live event, you went, oh, this guy's got something, right? Everybody knew that. And WWE had interest, and every company you could possibly imagine had interest. And I could have found myself in a situation where I could have went to one of those companies. But literally, in the last leg of my MLW contract, AEW becomes this thing. And I have so many friends that I'm hearing rumors of that are going to head over there. And I have so many people I respect that I know are going to head over there. And I just found myself in a great position. And then one day, me and Tony Khan got on the phone, and we just talked. We talked about what I thought of the pro wrestling sport / business, his ideology and the way he looks at it. We talked about old school wrestling. We talked about Mid-South, AWA, Georgia Championship. I mean, you name it. And I thought to myself, this guy isn't just some dude with money, because that's what most wrestling promoters are. They're just a guy with money that don't have a clue. Tony Khan gets it. And that's why I felt so comfortable signing pen to paper.
That makes a lot of sense. But like, even still, like, you couldn't have fathomed performing. I guess there's no fans right now, but like at a time where you're performing in front of like 30, 40, maybe a few hundred fans, like into arenas that have almost like 20,000 people.
I swear to you, I knew it was going to go down, Ryan, and I'll tell you why. If you build it, they will come. That's a movie reference. I don't know if it went over your head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you're talking about Field of Dreams, but maybe you're talking about like some indie flick I haven't seen.
No, good job. Field of Dreams, right? And I knew when you have superstars like MJF, Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, even though I hate his stinking guts, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, the Young Bucks. I mean, God, this isn't me leaving anyone. I'm just John Oakley. It's the amount of talent and fresh talent I knew we'd have off the whip. I knew immediately that we would be fine as long as we never gave Jungle Boy an opportunity on television. Unfortunately, we have. And, but things turned out fine even though we did. That kid's a scumbag. A lot of people think he's a good dude. He is scum of the earth. And I'm sorry.
Why is that?
He's a bad guy. He's not who you think he is. He's not who you
think
think
I think he is, and who is he?
You think he's a good guy. I think he's a dude who was born in Hollywood with a silver spoon in his mouth. But we don't need to get in it. I've wrestled him countless times. I've beaten him every time. So it is what it is.
Well, yes, I knew, even like when I saw you in AAW at the Logan Square Auditorium, I knew you would one day be in big arenas. But what I meant was you have to be stunned at how fast it happened.
Of course. I'm not. Like I said, it just, the writing was on the wall. I'm sure when guys like Piper and The Rock, who both ascended at very young ages, they probably weren't looking left and right and going, my God, how did this happen? It happened because they had it, just like I have it. Just like Chris Jericho had it at a young age in WCW, and everyone went, oh my God, where's this guy been all my life? Some people have it, some people don't. I was born with an abundance of said it.
Who are some other people who don't have it?
You want me to talk about people who don't have it?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Look, we don't have all day, and I am not going to get into that because, quite frankly, I'm going to get tired and exhausted because the oxygen will have left my lungs while I come to the first quarter of the list I'd give you. So next question.
Next question. I want to get you out of here on this. What didn't I ask you that I was completely derelict in my responsibility and should have presented to you as a question?
I think you hit the nail on the head for the most part in this interview. Congratulations. It wasn't, out of all the interviews I've done, it was most certainly the most recent.
Thank you very much. That compliment means the world to me. Once again, you can catch MJF on AEW Dynamite, TNT, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Who knows? One day he might be the champion.
I know. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _MJF.